We have a huge update on the Jani Hakapaa situation, saying that he can play on that knee, and this is going to have a huge factor on the Leafs going into this season, whether they're going to sign him or let him walk. Plus, we have a huge prospect update on Nikita Grebyonkin, and I'm going to break it all down for you guys coming up on this episode of Hattrick HQ. But before we get into it, we got a word from our sponsor of this video, Fume. Are you trying to kick a bad habit to the curb? You need to check out Fume. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device, and the flavored air category is quickly becoming the alternative to vaping and smoking. If vapor was compared to sticky soda, Fume cores are closer to herbal teas. Fume has lots of delicious flavors to choose from crisp mint to cinnamon hearts. They have a flavor for you. With flavored air, you can satisfy your oral fixation through a passive diffusion system that utilizes no electronics, no vapor, and no combustion. Fume has been backed by many doctors within the United States, and they continue to invest into third-party studies to ensure the safety of their products. My favorite thing about Fume is their delicious flavor cores. You can use them anywhere, at work, at home, or just on the go. Fume also is made to fidget with through its magnets, snaps, and clicks to just calm your anxiety. Fume has served over 300,000 customers, and you can be their next success story. For a limited time, you can use my code DIGEST to get your free topper accessory. It's the perfect accessory to your Fume device. Slip it onto the mouthpiece for a softer, warmer feel. It's chewable for those who love to fidget, and it's reusable. Head to tryfume.com. That's tryfum.com to get this exclusive offer by using my code DIGEST to get your free topper accessory with the purchase of a journey pack. And once again, a huge thank you to Fume for sponsoring this video. And once again, thanks to Fume for sponsoring this video. If you want to get that exclusive offer, make sure to go down below in the description and in the pinned comment. But with that said, let's jump right into the first topic of the video today, which is Leafs prospect update. And yes, like I said, this is about Nikita Grebyonkin. The Hockey News has been doing their top 10 Leafs prospects going into this season, and Grebyonkin came in here at number 6. And we got a little bit of an update. If you haven't heard of him, we're going to catch up to speed here on Nikita Grebyonkin coming out of the KHL. Let's have a look here at the first screenshot. They say Grebyonkin is a player who's strong after rush. He's on the greater side of 6 feet tall, and he can skate very well for his size, making him dangerous with the puck as he moves through the neutral zone. The forward often outsmarts the opposing defenders with his transition skating and playmaking abilities. Grebyonkin is a strong passer too, and can find his teammates in good spots for scoring chances. Obviously, this is big to hear for such a young guy coming out of the K that, you know, he's kind of a bigger guy here, coming in at 6'2" at the left wing position, but he's, you know, a strong player. He's good at making those scoring chances for his teammates, and he's very strong off the rush. That is obviously big. One thing here about this article is you might see his name spelled wrong here. I don't know if that's a thing on the Hockey News side, because it is Grebyonkin. I'm pretty sure that's the correct spelling. When I was reading through this article, I said, yeah, someone spelled it wrong here, but they spelled it by the pronunciation here. Just want to clarify that it's not on our half here. But they also go on to say here, this is from Haley Wickenheiser. She said he's got good hands. His skating skills still need to improve, but it's come a long way. But he's not afraid to play physical. He fought a couple of times in the KHL. He'll mix it up, and he's a fun kid to be around as well. Obviously, hearing this is fun. You always like to have that big winger come in who is a physical presence. He isn't afraid to pick up for his teammates and get into the mix a little bit with a scatter fight, but he can also play on the offensive side as well with his hands. Obviously, as he said, his skating still needs a bit of improvement, but it is coming there. It is getting there right now, but it does look good for Grebyonkin coming over to the AHL this season. I think we will see a good season out of him with the Marlies. And as we go along here, they say here, while it's difficult to project what Grebyonkin's ceiling at the NHL level could be, I do believe he'll start this season in the AHL with the Marlies. He's still playing against big, strong competition, but it's a league where you're going to notice fairly quickly if he doesn't belong. And obviously, coming over from Russia or Europe, anywhere in Europe to North America, it is going to be a harder game to play, playing at the professional level, the top leagues in the world for hockey. So it is going to be a big adjustment adjustment for this kid, but I do think that once, he maybe shakes the nerves a little bit, we will see him start to break out of his shell here and come into the player that the Leafs fans and Leafs scouts want him to be and know him to be, which is very exciting. And as we keep moving along here, they do say that there will need to be some patience, because obviously coming over is a big switch, but they do often say here he could make the jump to the NHL sooner rather than later, which is always great to hear when you're talking about a young prospect, because you want a guy to come over to the NHL as soon as he can, or graduate from the AHL to the NHL as soon as he can, but you don't want to bring him up too early to risk stunting his development. But I do think after a season, maybe after this season going into next season in the AHL, this is a time where we may get to see him called up. If the Leafs are shorthanded on that left side, they could bring him up here to get his first taste at NHL hockey. I do think that this guy is going to be a tremendous prospect here for the Toronto Maple Leafs, just being a guy who, is a little bit of a bigger guy, not so much of a big man project. At 6'2", his skating will be much improved after this season. We'll get to see what he's like in the AHL, and if he's a dominant force in the AHL, then this is when we'll start to see a guy like this being talked about bringing up to the NHL. And if we're just taking a look at his stats here from the KHL, he did have 19 goals, 41 points in 67 games in the KHL, which is tremendous numbers. Obviously, we've seen guys like Panarin, Kaprizov, all these guys come from the KHL with this similar amount of points. Not saying that he's on that level as them, but having the same point totals as guys like that coming over from the KHL obviously speaks volumes on his game. The KHL is a tough league. I'm not saying it isn't, but when you can get 41 points over there and come over, develop in North America, you definitely have a bright future ahead. And I think all you guys should be on the lookout for Nikita Grebyonkin on in the AHL with the Marlies this season, because this is a guy to definitely keep on your radar for being a future Maple Leaf. But that's the update on Nikita Grebyonkin. Let me know what you guys think on that down below in the comment section. Do you think he's going to be up this season, or do you think it'll be a little while until we see him? I think we're on the latter half of the little while until we see him, but definitely a guy to keep your eye on. But we're going to get into the main topic of the video today, which is why everybody clicked on this video, and that is the major update on the Hakanpaa situation. And this has been something that has been crazy over this last little while in the NHL. I mean, everybody is talking about this. Is Hakanpaa signed with the Leafs? Will he sign with the Leafs? What kind of, medical situation is this guy in right now? And today we actually got a update on that from Chris Johnston, Leafs reporter on Twitter. And this is what he had to say here. He said he believes he can play on his knee. So obviously he's saying here that Hakanpaa believes that he can play on it, but doctors may shy away to saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't, at risk of further injuring it. But he says, I don't know if there's unanimity in the opinion from those that are looking at his medical files, and just concerns that essentially he's got bone on bone. It's not a situation that could be terribly comfortable. Obviously, when you got a bone on bone injury, that is going to hurt when you're using your knee, and especially in hockey, using your legs is a big part of the game. Skating is one of the biggest parts of the game, in my opinion, in hockey. Obviously, you got to be strong on your edges, so if you got a bone on bone injury that's very uncomfortable to play with, that's definitely going to hinder your gameplay, whether you like it or not. Whether he thinks he can play on his knee, and if he thinks he can play on this knee, and then he goes out there after 20 games and he has just got that knee completely cooked, it's just shredded, and he can't play anymore, this is kind of eerily, very, very eerily similar to the John Klingberg situation with the whole hip situation he had last year. He went out, played however many games it was, got to the Sweden series, and was done on LTIR for the rest of the season with that hip injury. This is a kind of situation where I think they kind of got burned on it last year, where Klingberg was like, yeah, I can play on this hip, and then after, whatever it was, 20, 30 games, however many games it was, he was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. My body's just not letting me doing it. Not that he doesn't want to play, but he just couldn't do it. And this is kind of similar to what we're seeing right now with Jani Hakapaa. Is he wants to play. He wants to keep continuing his career. He wants to help this Leafs team get a Stanley Cup. But will his body be able to let him do this? That is the big question on everybody's minds here, is if he goes out there, the Leafs sign this guy to maybe a 1-year deal now since his injury has come about, will he be able to, provide the defensive help for this Toronto Maple Leafs team, even if he does come in as a 70 D-man and get into maybe 30 as a 7th D-man, not a 70 D-man, as he comes in as a 7th D-man, maybe getting 30 to 40 games. Will his body let him play those 30 to 40 games is the real question. This is a guy I'm really excited for to join the Maple Leafs, because I think this guy is a tremendous defensive defenseman and something that the Leafs really need. But is the risk of bringing a guy in with a bone-on-bone knee injury worth it? That's a big question that I wouldn't be comfortable in answering. Like, if I'm Brad Treliving right now, he's kind of scratching his head because he's like, I did this exact same scenario last season. Do I risk chancing it again? And we also do get some more reports here from Chris Johnson. He also says, what's interesting about medical-related issues is some players do manage to play through certain things that others can't. I mean, everyone's bodies are different. Pain tolerance, what have you. I guess the x-rays themselves are black and white, but sometimes the information is black and white as well. I think this is a tremendous quote. One of the best quotes that I've seen about an injury, honestly, saying like, obviously the x-rays are black and white, but sometimes, the information is black and white as well, because, you can see on that x-ray that this is a bone-on-bone injury. It's going to hurt, but everybody has different pain tolerance. Everybody can play through whatever they need to. It's just like, if, for example, me or you go out with this injury and play, it might hurt me more than it will hurt you. And this is the same situation that we're kind of seeing with Hakanpaa. Is like, maybe this guy is tough. Well, obviously he's a tough defenseman, but maybe, he doesn't have the same pain tolerance as another person who would have this injury, and he would be completely fine going out there and playing on this knee and playing on this injury. Like he says, the information is black and white, just like the x-ray. So it's not for anybody else to judge this injury, because he could be completely fine. He's not obviously 100% because of this injury, but he could be completely fine going out there and playing on this knee. I'm sure he's been skating during this off season, getting his reps in to see if this is something that he can do and that his body's capable of doing. And I think that even though this medical, examination says, hey, maybe you should stray away from this guy, maybe he's on a whole different wavelength. Maybe he's thinking, yeah, I can play on this knee. I've been training and it hasn't been bothering me a lot, but training and NHL gameplay is completely different. When you get into the thick of it into an NHL game, will it hold up? That's the question on everybody's minds. But we also did get another thing here from Chris Johnson where he said, I think it really comes down to medical opinion, how much risk the organization is willing to take, but Hakanpaa certainly seems intent on continuing his career, and he feels that maybe he needs some time off, but will be able to play ultimately on that knee. So maybe you sign him, you give him, a little bit time off to recover, and then he comes back, and he's not 100%, because you're never going to be 100% on a bone-on-bone injury, I don't think, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, but bone on bone doesn't really sound good. I'm sure you guys agree with that. But maybe he takes some time off, he heals up a little bit, and then he's good for the Leafs to get into those 30 to 40 games as a 7th D-man. I don't think you rock this guy as a starting defenseman for you, because there's just too much risk in that. But having him as a guy who can come in when you're going up against some of the top offenses in the NHL and shut them down, he's definitely a great option to have for that. But we also do get one more thing here from Chris Johnson, where he says, we'll have to find out if the Leafs feel the same way, and they'll be able to determine if he does sign a contract or not. And this is the big ticket item here, is will the Leafs sign this guy? Because as of right now, he is not signed. Obviously, we were reported at free agency that he did sign, and then all this stuff kind of unraveled, and it's keeping unraveling right now with what's coming out today. And the real question is Brad Treliving comfortable in signing this contract like he was with Klingberg last season? It isn't that big of a risk, in my opinion, because you can get this guy in at fairly cheap, cheaper than you can than you got in John Klingberg. So if you bring this guy in on a cheaper deal, that risk is still there. And then if it comes to it that hey, he has to go on LTIR, well then so be it. You have that amount of money still freed up in cap space. But if you think this is too big of a risk, you feel like you want that 7th D guy that Noah's completely healthy, then you may go out and look for that. There isn't very many left. Hakanpaa is probably one of the best options out there. This is a guy who I'm a big fan on his game. I think it's really a low risk, like medium to high reward here for bringing a guy like this in, especially on this injury. So if it was me, I would take this risk, because if he goes out there, it doesn't bother him at all, and you can get this season out of him, then I think this is definitely a perfect deal. But if you sign this, he gets into maybe 10-15 games and says, hey, I can't do it, my body's not letting me do it, you put him on LTIR and you try to figure it out at the trade deadline. I think that's definitely the situation that I would go for, but I definitely see the other side of it being, hey, we shouldn't sign this guy. There's too much risk involved there, and that makes sense as well. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below on the whole Hakanpaa situation. Do you think the Leafs should sign him? Do you think the injury is serious? Do you think, maybe he's bluffing a little bit, saying he can play on that knee? I think he could definitely play on it, but for how long is the real question. Love to hear from you guys down below in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure down below, hit that like button. It helps push these Leafs helps push these videos out to all the Leafs fans on YouTube. Also, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road for 5,000 subscribers before the end of the summer. So if you're not subscribed, make sure to go down below and hit that subscribe button. And once again, a huge shout out for Fume for sponsoring this video. If you want to get that exclusive offer, go down below in the description, in the pinned comment, to get that free topper with the purchase of a Journey pack today. And if you want to check out a video we did the other day, it'll be popped up on your screen right now. But as always, I've been your host, Casey. Keep your stick on the ice.